Hi guys, it's Matt and we are back with another tea tasting episode. Today we're going to be going over the 2018 Lucy from Yunnan Sourcing. I just got it in a few days ago. It's fresh, it's brand new, all that good stuff. It's actually a combination. It's a mix from some spring 2016 Munghai as well as spring 2017 Ling Kang. This is it right here. I have not even opened it yet. This is a nice little picture of Scott's dog, and if you do not know who Scott is the owner / operator of Yunnan Sourcing. So that all being said, let's get down to business and break open the cake. So now we're going to be breaking into the cake. As I was saying, this is the 2018 Lucy. So if you look real close, it's a nice little picture of Scott's dog Lucy in honor of the year of the dog. So let's get into this thing. I have not even opened it yet at all. I kind of waited for this moment. Really excited about this cake. It's 250 grams, which isn't too much, but it's a decent sized cake if you're just trying to keep it for a little while and see what it does throughout the year, or maybe a few years. That being said, it's $25 for 250 grams, so that goes down to about 10 cents a gram, which is actually pretty cheap. That's not a bad deal at all. That's very reasonable. And if you're ordering from their website, you do have to pay for the shipping, but if you order enough, it's really not a big deal. All right. So if you look really close with this, you can kind of see what it looks like. And since it's a right pour, it's not going to look as green. It's going to look a little bit more, I don't want to say dirty, but it's going to look a little bit more like this, honestly. A little bit more like mulch. That's the easier way to think of it. You got the nice little ticket too. I don't know if that matters for y'all, but whatever. Moving along. So it's a right pour, which means that it's not raw, first of all. When they first get this tea, they pick it, they wither it, pan fry it, and then sun dry it. And now at that point, they do one of two things. I'll take this with me. At that point, they do one of two things. They let it sun dry, and they press it into a cake, and bam, you have your raw pour. I might be missing a detail or two, but that's basically the gist of it. Now for this, since we're doing the right pour, what they get it, and they put it into a big old pile, a wet pile, and they let it ferment for a good while, probably like 40 to 90 days, I think, is pretty regular. And what that does is it lets all the microorganisms inside, the fungi, the bacteria, and everything else like that, let them do their job. And it makes a nice, creamy, dark tea. That being said, it can be really gross too if you get someone that does not know what they're doing and they make a really bad batch. We're right at 7.6 grams, which is quite a bit for this little small guy one, but I'd rather really taste it today than wait. Rewrap this up real fast. First things first, we need to do the rinse really quick. All right, so we just did the wash and we're moving on. The water's at about 180 right now, maybe a little bit more. It's not too hot. I don't ever like to hit it too hard right off the bat, even though I might need to do that eventually, but you know, what can you do? Being that it's the first time I've ever even had this tea or messed with this tea or unwrapped this tea, I usually use a guy one on the first time I use a tea like that, or have a tea. That way it gives me, I feel like it gives me a truer taste. I don't have any of the remnants of other tea from my pots and stuff like that. And plus you can smell the lid, which gives you another little way to go about having your tea. It's a lot of like really bready, really yeasty, good smell. Very good, real clean. Clean tasting, not gritty. which is a little bit odd for this kind of, for like a 2018 ripe. It's going to be a little bit more, I'd say a little bit more gritty, a little bit more, usually anyway, it's going to be a little bit more funky, but this has no fish smell, which is nice. No anything odd, no weird hints. So far so good. There we go. Good thing about the Gaiwan is it doubles as a strainer stand. Let me see if I can hold this, guys, so you can see it a little bit. It's definitely dark. It's not too funky on top. It's not foaming and fizzy like you get some ripe puers do. It's definitely thick. It's very thick. Very, very thick. Which is pretty good. Yeah. Lots of bread, sweet bread. If you're familiar with like, they say the taqueria, the Arandas, like the Mexican bakery, they have a lot of different kinds of sweet bread, and this is kind of the smell that you would have when you walk into those kind of bakeries, or probably most bakeries, but that's the bakery that I'm most familiar with. This has a lot of that in the nose. Alright, so we're moving on to probably about the 7th steep now. The water's getting a little bit hotter. I like to play with the water between 180 and like maybe 200 at the beginning steeps, just because it's just my preference, to be honest. That's just what I do. But now the tea starts to lose a little bit of the flavor. We're on the 7th steep, so we do get right under boiling. I don't like to boil my own water per se. I don't get it all the way super high like that. And once it does make a lot of noise, I'll let it kind of calm down. Partly because when you have these kettles like this, they'll spray out water, and I don't feel like burning the bejesus out of my hand today. And partly because I think that doesn't taste as good when you boil your water really hard like that. Now, a lot of people say that you need to boil the water, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. If I'm serving tea for myself, or I'm making tea my own way, this is preference. It's all personal preference. Very subjective. So moving on to this one, let's see what we get out of it. So far we had a lot of bready notes. I think it's really kind of like, it's real thick, obviously. It's a nice show pour, but the thickness is kind of dying off now, and we're getting a little bit more of the minerals is kind of thinning out just a little bit. We don't have that full mouth of like chocolate milk kind of taste. It's more, there's a lot more minerality to it right now, which is it's nice in its own way. And the color is still really pretty, so that is good. Let's get to this one. We'll try that real quick and we'll go from there. Still smells good. Still got that yeasty kind of bready smell that I really like in these. Not so much sweet anymore, more just bread notes. This is fantastic tasting as always. Oh yeah. Still there. One thing I will say is if you do have one of these kettles, invest in some sort of stick or go pick one up outside so you can hold the lid down as you start to really dump these over. The lid will fall off and it's heavy. Heavy metal, porcelain, they don't really combine very well. Try not to drop your lid on your stuff. I know I've done it, so. Anyway, we'll start moving forward now and we'll go from there. So we're moving on to the very last steep now. I think it's steep number 9. I'd say between 7 and 8, we kind of got a little bit more of the minerality of the tea and a little bit less of the full mouthfeel that you normally get from the first few steepings. That being said, this will be the last steep. Plus I ran out of water. The kettle's dry, so I'm not messing with that anymore. This has been steeping for probably closer to 3 or 4 minutes now, a little bit longer, a lot longer than normal to be honest. And we'll see what we get out of it. I'm gonna show you the color real quick so you can kind of get a good feel for what this tea will look like after several steepings. So as I bring it in a little bit closer, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's still pretty dark, but compared to what it was at the beginning, this is a lot lighter and it's a lot easier to see through this. It's not nearly as viscous. Still really good tea though. for 10 cents a gram. It's $25 for a 250 gram cake. For 10 cents a gram, this is a pretty good deal. I'm really interested to see where this teak goes in the next few years, and hopefully it'll only get better. So I will probably buy a few more of these whenever I'm not broke, but we'll get to there. Anyway guys, y'all have a great day. See y'all later.